Hey everybody, I'm Andy,
And I'm Sean.
and this is the Commander's Brew.
This week, another 1DH with Jarad, Golgari Lich Lord.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's episode 116 of the Commander's Brew,
Buck
or as
16.
Buck 16, illegal, not allowed to play that card in 1DH,
Right.
which is what we're
1D8.
all about for the last 2 weeks. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Yeah. This is the Commander's Brew. You know us. We're going to do a Commander deck every week. It's going to be under $50. Asterisk this week. I mean, it'll still be under $50, I think.
It is.
But normally we have a restriction. We just bring you a budget deck. We're going to bring you some laughs. We're brought to you by some very important people, our patrons. Very important, VIPs.
Yeah.
We're brought to you by the Wizards Tower, VIW, very important website.
Very
to get
important
Magic
website,
Sticks.
very important Wizards Tower.
Yeah. And then
VIWT.
also by Ultimate Guard, sleeves and
Yeah.
boxes, VIS, very important sleeves.
Very important sleeves. They also do playmats, and they also do deck boxes, all that kind of stuff. They're great. We have a bunch of Ultimate Guard stuff to give away, and
Ooh.
we're gonna come up with a contest in the next week, so stay tuned for that.
Yes, this is the teaser for the contest.
Yes, this is the teaser.
But let's hear an ad from the Wizards Tower, shall we? You want to do ones and twos now?
Yeah, good call.
This is all, just so you know, this is yo ho, it's a pirate life for me, but it could be a pirate life for you too. Have you always wanted to sail the seven seas of Ixalan with a winged animal on your shoulder? Probably a parrot, but maybe a little dinosaur. Those exist here. Have you always wanted treasure and the possibility of having a hook for a hand, or a peg for a leg, or a patch for an eyelash? You'll probably have an eye underneath. You know, most people think pirates don't have both eyes. That's why they wear patches. It's not true. It's so that they can adjust to the darkness when they're under the ship, and then they can adjust to the brightness up top. So one eye's always good at the dark. Does that make sense? Anyway, join us as a pirate on Ixalan. We scoundrel our way around the fleets, and we scallywag here and there, and we get our magic singles from the Wizards Tower, wizardtower.com. If we order $15 in singles, we get free shipping to Canada or the US. Also, we're going to use coupon code Tower of Brews. Then we get an additional 5% off that order, and we get 3% kickback towards the next order. Yo ho, pirate life could be for you too. Call the number at the bottom of the screen. There's no screens.
All right, great. Ixalan themed ad there from the gang at Wizards Tower, and a real person who's a real pirate looking for other pirates. It looks like.
Would you sign up, Andy, to be a pirate at Ixalan?
In Ixalan,
Yeah.
I feel like pirates would have my back pretty good. So I think I'd be into that. I think that's
Do
the
you
tribe
think-
I would get into.
Do you think? Okay, so that's probably a better question.
Okay, am I
What
going to join
tribe-
like the Sun Warrior dinosaur people? No, because I feel like they get eaten by the dinosaurs a lot. Am I going to join vampires? Hell no, I ain't no vampire. They're going to eat me. That's two tribes that are fully willing to eat me. The merfolk, yo man, I can't breathe underwater. So guess what I got? I'm stuck with pirates. I'll be on the boats. I like boats. And if you're a pirate, I feel like the pirates, they take care of each other. They look out for each other, or maybe they don't because there's no honor among thieves. But what do you know? You know what I mean? I'm pretty much stuck.
Andy Hull, process of elimination.
Process of elimination.
Reluctant pirate.
Reluctant pirate. Got to be a pirate.
I think I'd probably go vampire, assuming they're going to bite me and turn me into a vampire and not just straight eat me.
You want to be turned into a vampire.
Because I like the conquistador kind of idea. I do have a little bit of Spanish in my family tree, so that's where the last name comes from. So I think, I'm going that way.
I'll see you on the high seas, although not during the day, I guess.
I don't know the rules. I feel isn't Marvin Fane in the daylight in his
I feel
card?
like all the vampires are in the day in this set, so maybe that
What's
doesn't apply to these vampires.
Hey podcasts that deal with Vorthos or anyone who just loves Vorthos? Explain that.
Yeah. Oh, you know who can probably explain that? The guys over at the Brothers War podcast who mentioned one of our commander interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe they can talk about the difference between like Innistrad vampires, which seem to only act at night, versus these new Ixalan vampires, which seem to just be riding horses in the daytime, laughing like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha! My skin's burning. Who cares? Like that.
I
Maybe
love
that's their
your
attitude.
I love they're like sort of ha 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 ha
Ha
ha.
ha
I'm a
ha!
vampire.
To war. Like that's them.
They're so
That's
classy.
the conquistadors in my head.
Yeah, right. We all know what pirates talk like. Just a bunch of
Yeah.
gritty R's.
Yeah. Gritty
What do you think
arse.
the merfolk talk like?
Oh,
A
it's that.
bubble voice?
It's that like. Don't make me walk the plank.
Like
I'm a
like
merfolk.
so somewhere in their vocal cords is just really flappy.
It's just always water. They're just constantly gargling water. I think is the thing with them.
Just constantly gargling. Like, excuse me, merfolk, do you mind spitting out that water just for a couple seconds to answer this question?
Can't do it. Can't do it. Gotta breathe. Gotta breathe. Like do they breathe air or water?
I think okay, presumably they can do both.
Well, that's very good. Lucky
Yeah,
them.
right? Yeah, lucky them. Unless that gurgly water is just like them holding a bit of air.
Yeah, like
That's
they
like
have
holding their breath.
like there's a tank inside of their body somewhere that they hold all the water that they breathe.
Yo, hey merfolk, how long can you hold your water?
Yeah,
I can
it's
hold
like
my water
it's
a long
like how
time.
dolphins and whales can hold their breath for like really long time, but they can't breathe under the water, right? But they
Yeah,
just,
right?
they're just good at holding their breath.
Sure.
Maybe merfolk are just great at holding their water.
And so many merfolk fly, so like you got to fly outside the water.
Do they fly? Yeah, a lot of merfolk fly. You're right. Yeah. Anyways, and then those poor folks with the dinosaurs, like I feel like they're just constantly living in fear that the dinosaurs are gonna step on them and stuff.
But do you think though? I bet you they live in the state where that's like the greatest honor.
Yeah, they're
Like,
into it big time.
yeah, they're like, oh man, did you hear what happened to James? He got stomped.
Got totally stomped.
Wicked.
Can't wait to get stomped. Oh yeah, stomp is an actual card in the set too. That's great.
Savage stomp.
Yeah. Savage stomp. So yeah, that's the breakdown of what's happening on Ixalan, we think.
Yeah, right.
Commander interviews that we've been doing lately, the Brews News
Brews
segments have been
News.
really getting into that. So
Yeah.
stick around to the end of the show if you want to see that type of stuff. But what we're focusing on this week, as we did last week, is we're making 1 DH decks, which is no cards over $1 in the entire deck, including the commander. So
It's
last
a special
week,
format.
yeah, special format, price based, obviously. Last week, Sean made a Rush Me Eternities Crafter. Is that what she's called?
Yes.
Made a Rush Me deck, a Simic deck. This week, well, I actually made it last week too, but Jarad Golgari Lich Lord was mine. I'll bring him up and just let him. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here. Jarad is he's classic. He's from Return to Ravnica. He's been reprinted a bunch of times. 2 black, 2 green, legendary zombie elf. He's a 2/2. He gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. That's a hint at our strategy. And then you pay 1 a black and a green, and you can sacrifice another creature. You can't sacrifice Jarad to himself. Each opponent loses life equal to the sacrificed creature's power. And just another fun bit, sacrifice a swamp and a forest, return Jarad from your graveyard to your hand. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So the thing is that you built your deck, I built mine. We actually play these decks against each other in a 1v1 format, which isn't exactly going to show off all the goods of a commander deck. But we just wanted to get a feel for the cards in here and what they're like and everything. So we did that. We had a couple games. It played like pretty much normal Commander. You know what I mean? Like I didn't feel like I was really missing much.
Yeah, it's hard because our sample was only 1v1.
Yeah.
I feel in a multiplayer game this would be very different.
Yeah.
But you still get a lot of powerful synergies and powerful cards. I didn't know what to expect when I faced Andy's deck. And, there's some legit, like Jarad is a scary commander, right? There's a lot of cheap dollar cards or less that you can just fill up that graveyard. At one point, I hit an acidic slime to kill your Temple of the False Gods to set you back on mana a little bit. The mana that taps for 2 colorless. And I'm like, okay, this will buy me a bit of time. I'll draw some more cards with Rush Me. But then you just played like a Splendid Reclamation.
Yeah.
And you got at least 3 or 4 lands back from it because you're milling yourself as much as possible.
That turn, I remember being like, oh, wicked. He destroyed one of my lands. I played a cycling land. I cycled it. And then I played Splendid Reclamation. So
great turn.
That was a sweet turn.
Yeah, so that game, Andy had a ton of mana. And like when you have all that mana, Jarad does real work.
He does real work because he doesn't need to tap to do his ability. You simply pay that 3 mana, which, we're green here, so we can ramp pretty easily. And, I mean, black's actually fairly good at that, too. But
is it in 1DH?
I don't know about 1DH. That's a great point.
That's the thing, right?
Certainly green is. So so you can generally, once you're ready to do it, you can do Jared's ability a few times. So I had a question for you, and I don't think I asked you this last week, but why did you pick Rush Me for your 1DH deck?
Well, I browsed at a bunch of legendaries that were there. That were like, I sort of put a cap of $1 and I put creature type legendary into Scryfall, and I just took a browse, and I don't know. I think Rush Me just jumped out at me. I've never really brewed a Rush Me deck before, and I guess somewhere in, you know what it is? Because like I was looking through the commanders and I'm just like, okay, I know what I want to do with Rush Me. Flash creatures, instant spells, a lot of draw, a lot of counter spells. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like I had a nice picture in my head of what it should look like early, and it was vague enough like it wasn't dependent on a specific combo that I knew that the dollar restriction wasn't going to hurt me.
Right.
Like it wasn't going to change what this deck should fundamentally do.
Right on. Yeah, I felt the same way. For me, it was what did I do? I think I just started browsing EDH Rec for commanders because they display the price right on them when you look at them.
Oh yeah.
So I just picked some color combos, and when Golgari came up, I saw Jarad, and I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I've kind of always wanted to build a Jarad deck. So, and I was like, I bet you any money that like those creatures that Jarad really wants are definitely under $1. Like I really felt like you can make a good one for and I think I was right. I think there's a lot of stuff that Jarad would have in a normal like regular EDH deck, no budget restrictions. I think a lot of the creatures you would pick for that deck are just under $1, so you can just have them in this deck too.
Yeah, true. And I was always shocked. Like after I did last week's episode, I made a couple of tweaks to the deck because I kept going and I knew we were going to play it or whatever. Just like some cards that I found to be not that effective in the deck or not that necessary. Just make it, And it's amazing. I was like, wow, that card is also under $1. Wow, it's really surprising to find how much is under $1. You can really do this. This to me is a great format. I love it, and I want to give a shout out to Alexito on Twitter, who kind of brought this format to our attention. He plays a lot of it and has a lot of tips and links to resources and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's great. It's great fun. Now, we never got to play a multiplayer game of this. We only played 1v1. And I am really curious. 1v1 Commander, again, is a different animal.
Totally.
And it doesn't, like, it's so hard to really get a good feel because it's like, if I stumbled on mana, Andy wins. If Andy stumbles on mana, or he only draws his ramp but none of his cards, I win.
Yeah.
It's tricky. It's a tricky balance here.
Your deck also is a little bit better set up for 1v1 because you have a lot of counter spells. So like counter spells are very good for 1v1, right? Whereas in multiplayer format, they they lose a bit of their value. Whereas in my deck, my guy hits each opponent for a certain amount of life. So like
Right.
the idea is to like hit everybody. So I mean, it's not that big of a disadvantage but it's just that like in a multiplayer game you have some time to set up, whereas in 1v1 you just don't. So yeah, it's tough to accurately judge how good things are. But I think for me, I was happy with how much I was able to like get my graveyard full, and then play out a couple of creatures that I wanted to sacrifice. Although I never actually did a lot of sacrificing with Jarad in our games, I just didn't have time to do that. But one time, but like Jarad, that's the good thing with Jarad. He'll get big on his own, and you can win with like a Rogue's Passage, which is how I basically won that one game. Sean and I played 3 games on it. I won 1, Sean won 2, and that's how that game went for me. Is that like he was just so big, and Sean just didn't have any removal, I suppose. So
I ran it out. I spent it.
that's right, yeah. So yeah, Rogue's Passage is great with this guy because he just gets big on his own, so he's a threat that way. But then like the other big creatures you'll get are also a threat, like because of him. He's really great. And the Sacrifice a Swamp and a Forest ability to return him to your hand is really good.
Oh my god, it gets around like in a way it's like looking at it as like, well, that's sort of like 2 extra mana. That's sort of like commander tax, but it's a very tough way to do that tech. But you got Splendid Reclamation in the deck. So like if you haven't pulled that trigger yet, then no problem. Sack all the forests and swamps you want. I'll just bring them all back eventually.
Yeah, exactly. There's a couple of ways to get back mana that way and things like that. So it's a very fun deck to play if you get a little bit of time in the game, right? Like it's a bit of setup, which is fun. I love like that's one part of the thing I love about Commander is like being able to get your little pieces going and then get to see them go off. So
yes,
this is definitely a deck where you want that to happen.
That's the Johnny in us all.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is where like 1v1 Commander and multiplayer Commander are so different in general. Because 1v1 is absolutely spike driven, the players who just want to win in maximum efficiency, and multiplayer is all about Johnny, like that psychographic archetype. And if you're not in the right one for your play style, you're not going to have a great time.
Yeah, it's true. Well, let's get in. Let's talk about this deck. Let's talk about I mean, you know what? Actually, before we talk about the deck again, I just want to mention the format in general. I mean, we can't really talk too much about it, but like, were you happy with this budget restriction? Were you happy with 1DH? Would you say overall this is something you'd like to try and make happen in real life?
I would love to. It's such a low commitment level. It's so cheap and easy. Like I think our decks are already pretty cheap at under $50, but I feel like these ones will often be way under that.
Yeah, they are quite a bit under that. This one, what was yours again? Do you remember?
Mine ended up being about 40.
Mine's 36.
Yeah, right? Like it seems, and I bet you have tons of these rares. Like, cause like this is these decks. Yeah, man. I love it. It's so easy to brew. The restriction doesn't really, it only limits certain types of strategies. Like you're not going to be able to build in your a lot of 3-card combos because combo pieces tend to be above $1 because they're unique in that way. So you have to rely on what is more of a fundamental Magic style of play, which I just think it's a better. I think it makes it an overall more fun for someone who likes to be a Johnny player and a budget player. It's more in line with what I like to do.
All right, well, now I like it. I think it's very fun, and I would like to do a 1DH challenge with our play group and see if that would go off and see if people would be into that.
I was never frustrated that there were cards I really wanted that I couldn't use. In fact, it was the opposite. I was surprised that there were these cards I wasn't expecting to be able to use, but I could.
And it was fun finding out which cards you could use, and it was like the restriction was it didn't really feel like a restriction because especially if you're using something like Scryfall where you can set it so that you don't even see the cards over $1. It's like no, this is just my card pool, and I get to build a fun deck with this card pool. It's really really cool. So I would suggest if you're going to get into 1DH, Scryfall is definitely a great resource to use for that.
I just think Scryfall is the best Magic card search engine that there is.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And the way they display it is really clean and everything. Anyways, it's great.
It's
Okay,
great.
so let's get into the deck. Let's talk about the deck here.
Okay.
The overall game plan with Jarad is pretty obvious. It's pretty much printed right on his card. He's going to get bigger with the more creatures in our graveyard. He's going to sacrifice creatures to deal, to get players to lose life, and we can recur him a bit. So those three things: milling, filling up our graveyard, sacrificing creatures to deal damage, and then actually even a bit of recursion. These are all the things that a Jarad deck would like to do, and luckily in 1DH we get access to a lot of like the best tools for this. So let's talk about like Jarad, who is a grower. He grows with the creatures in the graveyard. We got a bunch of other ones. Now they're all pretty similar, so we're going to go through them a bit quickly, but there's one or two that I want to pause on. But anyways, starting us off here, we have LYFE. This is a classic grower. 2 green. He's a LYFE. LYFE's power is equal to the number of creature cards in all graveyards, and its toughness is equal to that number plus 1. So you mill, you got to get your milling going. We'll talk about that a little bit in a bit. But when you do, LYFE gets massive, right? He gets huge because also this guy is all graveyards, which is very, very important.
Ooh, neat.
That's great. So you're fine if it's just your graveyard, because I think we have something like 40 creatures in this deck, and then you just want to get them all in the yard. And that's when your game really starts. So obviously, LYFE's one of the reasons you want to do that.
Next up,
yeah, this one's quick.
Boneyard Worm, star. 1 and a green. Boneyard Worm's power and toughness each equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. There you go. That one's gonna grow.
Yeah, this one is like the base version of this. Is like basically all these guys are this card with different variations. So LYFE is actually all graveyards. This next one is interesting. Umbra Stalker, 4 black. So it's a big one. 7. Umbra Stalker is an elemental, and it has chroma. Umbra Stalker's power and toughness are each equal to the number of black mana symbols and the mana costs of cards in your graveyard. So
weird.
This one's really good, and it costs a lot, which kind of sucks. But this one gets really big because even if we have a lot of green creatures, we have a lot of black creatures, but a lot of the black creatures have double black in their casting cost. So
that is a feature of black cards in general.
So you'll get one creature in there, and that can sometimes be two or even 3 power toughness for Umbra Stalker.
That's interesting, because right away I'm thinking but if it's an all green creature, that's like it's like a minus column. Yeah. But the average black creature probably has 2, so it makes up for that green creature.
It basically evens out.
And you get the sorceries and instants too, right? Like all cards, not just creature cards.
It's not just creature cards. So it generally tends to even out pretty good, but you often will be larger than like a boneyard worm.
Cool.
Read this next one has flying.
Okay, this is called Revenant. This is 4 and a black. Spirit, star again. Flying, equal number of creature cards in your graveyard. Big theme here. Big, obviously, I think you can see where this is going. Having evasion on that is huge.
Yeah, that's the thing. This guy's like a big upgrade because he has flying, and that often can be a real big, a real way to end the game, a real important way to end the game there. Yeah. This guy can be up to 10, 12 power toughness sometimes, and just that flying sometimes is enough to close it out. And finally, Bone Horde. Bone Horde might be good enough to put on the 3 stars, but we just had to mention it because he's a 4 cost artifact, generic. It has living weapon, so when it comes in, it makes a 0/0 token, and this gets attached to it because it's an equipment. An equipped creature gets +X/+X, where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyards. It has equipped 2. This is the thing with actually, Bone Horde probably should be on the top, the 3 stars, because this equipment is +X/+X, where it's all creatures in graveyards. Yeah. And you put that on top of like a LYFE, and all of a sudden you've got all you need is like 20 creatures, and you've got a 40/40.
What about and then so with Jarad too, you can move it around and then sack the creature and then move it again. Yeah. So Wow.
That's the move, right? That's the move with Bone Horde. Yeah, you know
That's
what?
the
Bone Horde
move.
definitely should replace this other guy we have on our top 10, on our top 3. But
That's why
that's
I
okay.
love testing.
Yeah, like I
I
never
love
saw
it.
this card actually. I actually
Yeah,
never drew
right?
this card ever, and only in talking about it now do I realize how good it would be.
Andy, can I throw a card your way?
Oh my god,
We
yeah.
we talked about it on the Rush Me episode. Do you run Ulvenwald Hydra?
Oh, no, I don't think so. No.
Uh, that's the Hydra that's 6 mana for a star reach that equals the number of lands you control.
Mm,
That's not going to get as big as your creature ones on average, I think, but
yeah.
I feel like you got up to a massive amount of lands, and it searches up another land. So, and I think in a deck where Jarad himself gets big, tutoring up that Rogue's Passage is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, that's a great idea. There's a lot of sacrificing of well, not a lot, but there's some sacrificing of lands. But I think Ulvenwald Hydra would definitely still be worth it. So yeah, that would be a great addition. So speaking of things like Ulvenwald Hydra and Bone Horde, we got to get them big, and then the way we get them big is with the fillers. You got to fill them up.
Yeah,
So why don't you read this first one?
the fillers. Shambling Shell. Shambling Shell is 1 black green for a plant zombie 3/1. The reason it's a great filler is because it has Dredge 3. That means if it's in your yard, you can mill yourself for 3 instead of drawing, and you can put this back in your hand. And you get to sacrifice this guy to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. I think he's good. That +1/+1 is kind of whatever. It's not nothing, but the fact that he can sacrifice himself at no cost is the key, because that means you always get to throw them into the graveyard and pull them back out.
Yeah, anytime you get up to like 7 or more lands, I think you just dredge everything from that point on.
Yep.
You just dredge everything. You just keep sacrificing this guy. You keep making whatever creature one bigger. It's slow, but but it's slow, but it's effective. Like people will eventually have to deal with the creature you're putting the +1/+1 counters on, and if they can somehow get around you, sacrificing that creature with Jarad, then good for them. But usually you're putting it on like a Boneyard Worm or an Umbra Stalker or something like
Yeah.
that. So it's already so massive that it's going to be a real problem for them.
Right. And
It's also like
even
an onboard trick, which is like sometimes
know.
people forget about it. You
I almost forgot about
in
it.
one game. You
Yeah.
went to block 2/3 with your 2/3 commander, and then this guy was out there. Almost got him. Didn't work though.
Too
Shambling,
smart.
but yeah, Shambling Shell's great. Dredge 3 is like kind of a small dredge actually, because you want a bit bigger, like with Stinkweed Imp. Stinkweed Imp is I'm skipping ahead here. 2 and a black for a 1/2. We talk about this guy all the time. He has flying and it basically has death touch, and his dredge is 5. So that's the money. Like that's where you want to be. Dredging 5 is so great. Stinkweed Imp is a deterrent to attacks. Like we talk about this guy every time there's a graveyard deck, and I think there's a real reason for that. And he's cheap. He's under $1, and he's like one of the most important cards in any dredge style deck in Commander, I'd say.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I don't know if this is even a limb. I feel solid here. I think Stinkweed Imp is in among the more underrated cards in Commander. I think the fact that it is a flying death touch, quote unquote, blocker that you can recur as much as you need to is amazing. There are a lot of decks where you're just like, oh, I just don't want people to attack me for a little bit.
Yeah.
Stinkweed Imp stops so much attacking.
Yeah.
And even if they're like, oh, I guess I'll trade a guy for it. It's like, no, I'll just get it back. Like if you destroy it somehow, I'll get it back.
Yeah, a lot of times people don't want to attack not because their creature will die, but because your creature will. They don't want to put your Stinkweed Imp in your graveyard so you can dredge 5. If you're a
But
Jarad
I'm even
deck
saying,
or a Carador or anything like that.
even if you're not a graveyard deck, I think it's worth putting in if you want longer games.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. When you read this next one.
Cool. This one here.
This one, yeah.
Okay, Satyr Wayfinder, 1 and a green. 1/1 Satyr. When Satyr Wayfinder enters the battlefield, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a land in your hand, the rest into your graveyard. This dude fills up the graveyard, and you probably get a land from it as well. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's mulch on a creature, essentially. It's not quite. Mulch gives you all the lands. Standard Wayfinder just gives you 1, but you're fine to put stuff in graveyard. So it
You're
doesn't really matter.
fine. You're fine.
This guy's then just like a little body, which you can use one of your sack outlets to put in the graveyard, or just a chump block or anything like that. So anytime you get a little bit of land, ramp, or just drawing a land, I mean, it's great. If it leaves a body behind, you're laughing. And next in this one is the Gitrog monster. Gitrog does a good job.
I can't believe it. I can't believe this guy's under $1.
He's under $1. It's unbelievable. Yeah, 3 black green for a 6/6 frog horror. He's legendary. He's you know what I think? I think I actually wanted to try and see if I could do a Gitrog monster deck for this, and then was just like, no, that's not going to work. It truly does not work because there's so many of the lands are over $1. But he has Death Touch, and he says at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice the Gitrog monster unless you sacrifice a land. Sometimes you will just sacrifice him to put a creature in the graveyard, which is fine because lots of ways to get him back and stuff. You may play an additional land card on each of your turns, which is great. And then whenever 1 or more land cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, draw a card. So this guy, you'll be sacking lands each turn, but you'll also be drawing cards that way. And there's so many other ways for you to put lands in your graveyard to get lands there, whether it's from milling or it's from like something like Satyr Wayfinder, things like that. Gitrog Monster is going to draw you a lot of cards while also helping fill up the graveyard. Now it doesn't fill them up with creatures necessarily, but it's just a great card. It's definitely just an all-star in the deck. It's just great.
I wish you had this on the battlefield while I had Keening Stone up. Can you imagine?
Oh my god.
I make you mill about 30 cards, and then you probably have to draw about 10.
Yeah, Sean's Rush Me deck, if you remember, has like this mill sub-theme.
Yeah.
Which can be advantageous or can be very bad. Like, that's the thing. It's still up in the air, right? Like, you can mill me for a bunch, but if you don't kill me with it, that's just going to help me kill you faster. And
yeah,
that's kind of what happened.
I think, yeah, if I had a way to deal with Jarad or Rogue's Passage, it's only because you get him through Rogue's Passage, right? Yeah. I knew he was unblockable, but I was close. Close.
It was very close.
Yeah.
One more turn would have done it.
Yep.
Yeah. So Gitrog's great. It's another thing that you need is card draw, and he's just going to give you lots of that, which is awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. Now we got the big boys. Now
I love it.
We got the ones that you don't necessarily need to wait around for these guys to get big. These guys come down big. They have big effects on the game usually, and yeah, let's get into these guys. This one might be my favorite card in the deck.
Okay.
You go ahead and read it.
Okay, sure. I'm going to read him, and then I got to burn for him. I got to burn this guy. Doomgape, 4, and then Golgari. So a total of 7, 3 of those hybrid, black or green. Elemental, 10/10 trample. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. You gain life equal to that creature's toughness. Yeah, and I want to burn this guy by saying, hey, Doomgape, T-Rex called. He's making fun of your tiny arms.
Yeah. This guy's all mouth. Like, you know what I mean?
He's all mouth. Look at his tiny little arms and legs.
Yeah. Hey, Doomgape. Steven Tyler called. He wants his look back.
Burn on Steven Tyler.
Huge burn. Steven Tyler, the Doomgape. Yeah, I've been looking for a deck to use Doomgape in ever since I've seen this card, because I think this card is so fun and funny looking, and what a cool effect. Like, you have to sack something, but it's a 10/10 trample, but you gain life from the sacrifice thing. Like, this is just good all around. It's amazing. This card's great in this deck.
Doomgape this might as well be a surprise and discovery for me.
I do have him in the surprise and discoveries because I don't know if it's either, but I just have always wanted to use Doomgape, and finally I get to use them, and I guess what, I was not disappointed. I played like a game on Forge before we played our games, and I managed to get Doomgape out, and it was so good.
Yeah,
like, they can attack you all they want. You just, okay, I'll sacrifice this like 20/20 creature and gain 20 life, and then now I'm free to just do whatever I want.
Wow.
You can also sacrifice himself to it, so if you're tired of sacking creatures. Doomgape,
and you'll gain 10 life from that.
So good. Like, very, very good. And then this is a great guy to put like a Bone Horde on, or anything else that pumps him, because he'll just be massive with the trample and everything too, right?
Hey, check out that flavor text.
It eats and eats until the juiciest morsel it can find is itself. It's true.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop eating.
Yeah, great.
Uh,
That's like me and at Thanksgiving.
so, here's another. Okay, I said big boys for this but they're not all so big. But Soul of the Harvest is a great card. It's 6 mana 6/6. It has trample, which is always good. But also it says whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. And this is just a way for us to get card draw. We just need to draw cards. So basically adding cantrips to all of your creatures, because we don't really deal with a lot of tokens here. Soul of the Harvest is a very good card in this style of deck because we don't have access to blue, and the only way we draw cards is through either hurting ourselves with black or casting creatures with green. And since this deck wants to cast so many creatures, it's the best way to do it. And you're going to get attacked a lot in this deck, I think, because people I think are very afraid of Jarad, especially once they start seeing how big your creatures are. So taking down your own life to draw lots of cards is not the best way to do it, I don't think.
I also think that Dollar General or 1DH, whatever we're calling it, I think that there's just more attacking in general.
Yeah, there is.
I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you can still build. I mean, as you showed, you can still build a pretty good, counter based. I mean, yours has a lot of big creatures in it too, but I think you could still put together a decent, I don't know, like red blue or like Jeskai or something, like kind of control-y countery deck. I think you could still do it because a lot of counter spells are under $1.
Oh, so many. This is what I referred to earlier about so for example, just to use an example in your deck, you would love Life from the Loam in this deck.
Yeah.
But that's obviously out of budget. But there's lots of other cards that dredge. There's lots of other cards that bring lands back. There's lots of things that we can use. It's just not this bonkers level power card that, rightly does cost $15 in real life or whatever it's up to by now.
Right.
And I just think it really does feel spiritually like the format that we kind of do anyway.
Right. Let's what's this next one here? I actually just switched it up on you.
Oh, so this one here?
Yep.
Okay, we got Terastodon. Yeah. So Terastodon is a 9 mana.
It's an 8 mana 9/9. And
right. I always mix that up.
When it enters the battlefield, you can destroy up to 3 target non-creature permanents, and then for whatever you destroy, that player gets a 3/3 green elephant creature token.
Right. Always a tough choice, right? Always, because they're going to get a 9/9 worth of power if you all go by the same person. So in a multiplayer game, obviously it's one from you, one from you, one from you. That's an amazing deal. Everyone gets a little elephant, and you got this 9/9. I honestly think often the 9/9 itself is usually a little disappointing. But you run it for the ability to just crush 3 non-creature permanents.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, Jared's existence makes a 9/9 vanilla still excellent.
It really does. And oftentimes you'll probably target your own lands with the 3/3 guys if you get a good ramp start. Because just getting creatures out is so good, and putting things in your graveyard is so good. So yeah, there's a lot of times where you'll just hit one of their artifacts or something, or an enchantment or whatever, and then hit one of your lands with that last one.
Yeah.
Cool. And one thing that makes Terastodon so good in this deck is actually Brawn. Brawn is a 3 and a green for a 3/3 with trample. It's part of the cycle of incarnations anger and wonder. Except Brawn says as long as Brawn is in your graveyard and you control a forest, creatures you control have trample.
There we go. So that amps up Terastodon big time.
So important. Gives Terastodon, gives all the big guys with, +X/+X where, creatures in your graveyard and all that kind of stuff. It's an absolutely essential card to help get damage through if you, for some reason, can't just kill everyone with Jared's ability. That's the good thing. That's the really good and fun thing about this deck is that it can attack on different, it can attack on different axes, but it doesn't need to attack. Right? You can get all these huge monsters out and not even have to attack with them because Jarad will just kill people with them, right?
Good.
So you can avoid combat if it's not working out for you. But sometimes it's just going to be, oh, well, you know what? I can actually just kill this guy if I attack, and then I can sacrifice this creature and blah, blah, blah. So
yeah.
So it's very, very good. And I should say, like, at this point, like, you often want Jarad to go to the graveyard. Actually,
right.
You will. This is one of those decks where like you'll often want Jarad in the graveyard simply, A, because he has his own onboard way of getting himself out. So like you're never going to get him stranded there, and B, because we do have ways to reanimate creatures, and that is our next. That's our next. What a segue this was. That's our next category. Ways to
reanimating
get the creatures
creatures.
Out if you want. Yeah. Here,
sure.
take this
off the
one.
top. Phyrexian Delver, 3 black for a zombie that's 3/2. When Phyrexian Delver enters the battlefield, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. You lose life equal to that card's CMC. So, straight up 5 mana for a Raise Dead that only works on your graveyard, fine, but it's on a creature, so that just means it synergizes with everything that we do in this deck. A little bit of a life cost to pay for it. I mean, we have some big butts in there, so like this could be pricey, but man, you get back that Doom Gape, and you're just getting that life back, no problem.
Usually it's better to bring something like a Boneyard Worm or a Revenant, where you're only losing 2 to 5 life, as opposed to like Doomgate, which you lose like 7 or 8, or something like a what's that big tree, Ghoul Tree, which is like 10 mana. Like you'll want to use Phyrexian Delver on those smaller guys, but generally, if you're doing this, it's pretty okay to lose a chunk of life like that. And just the fact that it's on a creature is great. This is Black's version of whatever that what's that white angel again? Man, I thought I had it for a second there, and I lost it right away.
What does it do again?
The angel that brings the creature back from the graveyard, and then she has.
You
have to sack her. She has Echo.
Yes. Oh boy.
Protection from black. Anyways, Karmic Guide. That's it.
Yeah.
So that's that version. Slightly worse version of it, but 1DH will take it. I think it's still very, very reasonable, and the fact that it's on a creature is just so good.
Great.
So good.
Great. And that's usually like another example of why this format is exciting, because a lot of these effects on spells probably cost a bit more because they're more efficient or whatever, because they usually price them higher because you are getting that body with it. But this is a deck where we just want that anyway. It's preferred here.
Yeah, exactly. Next, this is a good one. Dread Return. 2 black.
Yeah.
This is a sorcery, so we don't run too many things that aren't creatures or spells that aren't tacked onto creatures, but this is one of them. Because you get 2 uses out of it, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield for 4 mana. That's solid. And then it has flashback to sacrifice 3 creatures, which is just fine. You'll often have something like a Phyrexian Delver or like a Satyr Wayfinder, some little guys like that still kicking around. You sacrifice those guys to bring back something like Terastodon or what's it called? Mere Battlesphere, which is a card we have in here as well.
Yeah.
So you're bringing back those guys, or you're bringing back one of the big, the Lurgoyf type creatures. So usually this is just money. And sometimes you can get this thing where like you've milled very early, and like on turn 4 you can play like you can play one of those huge monsters and just really get a good advantage going.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's good. It's worth having like a handful of these effects in. It's not like mostly we want our creatures in the graveyard actually. So taking them out, you got to strike a weird balance with it. If you draw a lot of these early, it's not that's you don't really want that. And that's why it was so difficult to include this last one.
Palace Siege.
Yes.
Andy's Hull's signature card. 3 black for an enchantment. You're going to choose Cons or Dragons as it comes into the battlefield. Cons says you return a target creature from your graveyard to your hand. And I'm only just pointing out now, I never really read it that closely. This is not a May ability. I never thought that it mattered before, so I never considered not doing it. But here's a deck where you might not want to do it, and you don't have that choice. Also, Dragons, if you want, at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. I can see a situation where you might want to choose that. That's why this card is just so great. Like that is not an irrelevant choice, because if Jarad's if Jarad like makes all your opponents lose 15 or 20 life, having an extra 2 every turn on each opponent might be that thing to put them over the top, get that inevitability.
Yeah, it could be. It's really not outside of the realm of possibilities, especially if your graveyard is light and you're behind in the game. You
Or
might
if
actually
someone
choose dragons.
cleared the graveyard.
Yep, absolutely. So, but the real beauty of the con side of this is that hopefully, you can get Jarad to sacrifice something, and then Pal Siege will bring it back the next turn, bring it to your hand rather. So it's just there for value. It's like it's better in other decks, to be honest, because you don't always want to pull things out of your graveyard with this. So it works really well. And I would almost only cast it if you had a sacrifice outlet ready to go, because that way then it's even money on the creatures going to the graveyard, right? Because you don't want to be pulling more out than you're putting in. You always want to be putting more in. So.
Yeah, I can definitely see a situation where you get like Boneyard Worm, where you're like, sack it to Jarad, bring it back with Pal Siege.
Yeah.
Next turn, sack it to Jarad, bring it back with Pal Siege. It's just like, I'm happy to loop that combo for whatever it is until the game ends.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of it. That's what you want to do. It's pretty simple.
Very cool.
It's very simple, but I mean the cards are all there. Like this is a pretty legit Jarad deck, I think. Yeah, you might be missing some of the bigger money cards, but I don't think I think this could hold its own with a lot of other good decks that are not in this 1DH format.
Cool.
So let's take a look at what the 3 stars of the deck are. I actually would probably mention 2 that should be on here, including Bone Horde and Gitrog Monster. But you know what? There's a lot of great cards in this deck, and I'll start with the number 3 star, which is Deadwood Treefolk. It's very similar to Palace Siege in that it's going to return creatures to your hand from your graveyard. But because it itself is a creature, it's actually a little bit better. So Deadwood Treefolk is 5 and a green for a 3/6 with Vanishing 3. So on your upkeep, you pull a Vanishing counter off of it, and then when they're all gone, you sacrifice it, which is actually a bonus. It's a good thing in this deck. And when Deadwood Treefolk enters the battlefield or leaves the battlefield, return another target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So I find this guy just pairs with Jarad so well. So if anyone deals with Jarad, you get Deadwood Treefolk down, and you've got Jarad back again in your hand, and especially if you have a stack outlet, that this guy's going to be able to get him back again. So it does that thing where people are like, well, yeah, I could kill Jarad, but he's just gonna get him out again for not even more. It's gonna still just cost him 4. So Deadwood Treefolk is I think this is a very underrated card in Commander, and I think a lot more graveyard decks should include this card. I think it's great.
Fair. I know every time I put together a graveyard deck with green, this guy's in the big stack for sure.
Oh yeah, he's always in the big stack, and for some reason he never really makes the cut for me. But I saw this card in action in a game once and was like, wow, I have been underrating that card for a very long time. This card is really great.
Cool. Star number 2 is a shared star. It's a team star.
It is a bit of a team star.
Item number 1, Nyx Weaver, 1 black green, spider, 2/3 reach. At the beginning of your upkeep, mill yourself for 2. And then 1 black green, exile Nyx Weaver, and you return any card from your graveyard to your hand. That's everything we want to do.
Yep, it's perfect. This guy gets you a very good card, usually after a while, and you're happy to have a 2/3 with reach, which is sometimes just an upside. Yeah, he's just milling you, which is great. And then we also have Splinter Fright, who's 2 and a green and has the mill same thing, 2 into your graveyard every time. But he has Trample, and he's a star for the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So this guy's it was hard to choose between which one is better, because Nyx Weaver mills you and then gets you probably 1 really great card back that doesn't necessarily need to be a creature, and then Splinter Fright mills you and he gets larger as he's doing the milling, and he already has Trample. They're both so good. So
yeah,
it's tough to
the
choose.
Only thing I'll say about Splinter Fright, I've made this mistake before, it can't be the first thing you do.
You know what? It's very true, and he's so good that you wouldn't want to do that, but honestly, in this deck, there's a lot of creatures that care about creatures in your graveyard. You can just cast them, just to discard them.
You can, but like if you have another one of those in your hand, like you want Splinter Fright to help fueling them, right?
Splinter Fright is good enough that you actually just really do want him out there. Yes, yeah.
Yes, in general, yeah.
And I definitely have also made that mistake before.
And
And
who's
the
number one?
star is Night Howler. 1 black. It's the enchantment creature horror. It has bestow for 2 and 2 black. Of course, when you bestow it becomes an aura and it attaches to a creature. And Night Howler and enchanted creature each get +X/+X, where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyards. So he's very much like Bone Horde, and this is why I'm like, actually, you know what? I think Bone Horde deserves this spot more than Night Howler, because Bone Horde can move around and continue to stay on creatures, whereas Night Howler, if you sacrifice the creature that's on, yes, it comes back as a creature, which is great, but actually Bone Horde's slightly better. But regardless,
I disagree.
You think so? You really?
I think Night Howler, and because of Jarad, because you put Night Howler on a creature, and then let's say they let you untap, if you have 6 mana, you win the game. Because the creature Night Howler is on is probably a 30/30, and then Night Howler himself will fall off the creature once you sack it, and it'll probably be like a 20/20. So there's 50 life you've done that turn. Whereas Bone Horde does a similar job, but you have to pay a little bit more for it. I think that mana efficiency...
You're right. You have to pay 2 more for it and have another creature.
Yes. Night Howler also survives board wraths if they do those sort of things.
Yeah. It's arguable. They're both great, I think. But
sure.
Yeah, Night Howler is very, very good in this deck. No question about it. He's definitely one of the ones you want to find. Of that list of cards that grow with creatures in graveyards, this is definitely the best one.
Cool.
So yeah, Night Howler. Get your Night Howlers in your Jarad decks pronto, which you probably all already do because you guys already know that this card's amazing with Jarad.
Yeah, like I just love that. Like, I bet you Night Howler is probably on a top 3-star list of most Jarad decks, regardless of budget.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And same thing with Bone Horde, and same thing with so many of these cards. I really do think that you don't miss out on too much. Like, obviously, there's a tuned version of Jarad that has, you're right, like Life from the Loam and Eternal Witness and things like that. But I still think you can make a pretty mean Jarad deck in 1DH even. So, for all of you people out there who may be, thinking about 1DH and thinking like, oh, I don't want to play this muted version of Commander. I just want to play the version that I like. Like, if you're thinking about budget, and if you're the type of player who the budget side appeals to you, I think it's worth a shot, because I think you'd be surprised that a lot of cards, like we have been, are under $1. And we're a show that looks like we look at budget cards all the time, like every week. Right, we're sifting through budget cards, so and even we're surprised that we find some of these that are under $1. So I'd definitely recommend it, and it's fun building it with restrictions. We all know that. So
yeah,
I had a blast.
Cool. I mean, we talked about the surprises and discoveries, I guess.
Yeah, we already talked about Doomgape enough. I think that's fine. I just wanted to mention it again because I really like that card.
Cool, fair. Let's take a moment to shout out to the Wizards Tower, wizardtower.com. Those of you who are regular listeners of the show, you know that you can use our coupon code Tower of Brews to get 5% off any order of singles. That's a great deal. They'll ship anywhere for free in Canada for $15 or more. Same with the US. There will be a change coming up in November. We're just going to tease it now that we're going to start. Wizards Tower would like to change the coupon code, so we'll go into monthly coupon codes. So we'll give you plenty of notice what that is, so you'll be up to date on that. You'll always get that 5% discount through us for whatever code it is. We're going to do our best to make sure they're at least hilarious or interesting.
Yeah, great. WizardTower.com. Check it out.
Check it out.
It's time for the budget report.
This is where we take all of the cards and they're all friends because they're all cheap.
Yeah, man, there is no budget report. This deck is $34. I said 36 earlier. It's actually 34, and all the cards are about $1.
Great.
Or under. So yeah, I think the only one that was exactly $1 or 99 cents or something was High Market. Actually, was under $1. Which
High Market's in this deck too, man. That's amazing.
And that one's not going to stay under $1 for very long. So
no.
But I did. Yeah, you can find it for $1. So
So let's wrap up with a
Yeah.
couple of thoughts on
Yeah.
1DH. We did a couple episodes on it. It was very fun to brew. I have a lot of thoughts on it. I want to another thanks to Alex Cito for kind of bringing it to our attention. He mentioned also that we mentioned about rotation last time. How does rotation work?
Right.
Generally speaking, it's just handled by the play group. You can just set whatever. There's no official rules on it. You just decide like how often do you want to rotate. Every time a set comes out, fine, let's do it then. Let's reset then. Every time you want to do it daily, every time you meet, that's also an eligible thing if you want to do. But that's entirely up to you. And whichever price guide you use as well, it's up to you as well.
Yeah, that's
anything.
That
You
was
do what's fun.
That was an important one because we were like, I wonder what do they use for, it's kind of whatever you agree upon, right? So
Yeah, I mean, I love Scryfall for the sheer fact that you can search with the parameter anything that's $1 or less US. Show me those cards, and then it's like, there you go, you got it.
I also agree. I think that not that this is going to become its own format really. Like, it seems to be like a nice, loose, casual thing. I like it that way. I like it that it's agreed upon by the playgroup and all this type of thing. But I think you're right. I think Scryfall is the best way to do it because you can simply go, oh, okay, I need to update my deck. Let me just put, let me find out if this card is $1. It's like, just put that restriction in Skyfall or Skyfall. And then
James Bond.
Yeah. And then and then just and then search for the card, and bam, there you go, whether it comes up or it doesn't, right? So
it's great.
Pretty easy.
I think one of the so to me, one of the reasons this has become so fun and why it is absolutely possible to still build fun and like competitive decks is because cards get expensive when they're just raw power for every deck. But cards tend to be cheap when they're powerful yet very synergistic. So if it points you towards building highly synergistic decks, because like look at Night Howler as an example. This card is bonkers in a Jarad deck. If it was generally that powerful across all decks, it would be like a $5 card or something. But it isn't. It is only good in these types of decks. So, economics. The demand is low, so the price is low. But for our format of 1DH, I'm calling it our format for the purposes of this episode, it just works. You still get to do the fun things for your commander.
Yeah, absolutely. These cards are all like Bs, you know what I mean? There's not a lot of As, but there are As for this deck. There's a lot of Bs in the format. Let us,
Yeah,
C pluses and that sort of thing.
You're not gonna like you can't if you were to evaluate this card in a vacuum, it's probably like a C. But in this deck, it's an A. So that's great. You get to build decks with A cards for that budget.
Yeah, and I think that's why it feels so good. Like, it feels good to have Night Howler, Bone Horde, Gitrog Monster. Like, it feels so good because you know that these are high powered cards in this deck.
Yeah.
But you also feel good that you're not breaking the bank to do it.
Well, speaking of not breaking the bank, I think for anyone who's thinking about getting into MTGO and they're not sure, that program has got a lot of flaws in it. And one of the biggest ones is that it's straight $10 just to sign up, which is such an archaic way to do things these days. But once you get in there, so we said this deck was about $35 in real life. I think it's like $4 online.
Yeah, it's
because online cards are so much cheaper. 6 tickets, right?
Tickets.
So and then the deck I brewed, I think, was 5 tickets. And they share some cards too. So, I would recommend finding a little 1DH online group. I know they're out there, people who play 1DH on MTGO, because it's so cheap and you're not going to run into turn 1 combo kills because those ones are illegal.
You can talk to those people on Twitter and set up Discord and things like that. And actually, it's a cool way to just talk to the community, talk to the commander community that you might not interact with in real life. We get to interact with them a lot because, luckily, because of the show and social media, we've been lucky to meet those people online and stuff like that. So, I would recommend it to anybody. Same here. I think it's so great and so fun.
I think this is an MTGO specifically format. I think this format thrives in that environment.
I mean, yeah, you'd have to build the decks with the paper restriction.
Yes,
And
that's what I mean.
Yes, yeah. Like you couldn't like in MTGO, you have to be like, okay, it's $1. Like what are the dollar decks I can make? And no, like it's $1. Oh, no, it'd be like 1 cent commander. That's what it is.
Well, that's a format. They have Penny Dreadful for MTGO.
Right.
Yeah. So in Penny Dreadful, every card has to be 1 cent equivalent of a ticket, like 0.01 or less tickets.
Yeah.
So your whole deck has to be under $1. I don't know if they do this. I'm sure there's a Commander Penny Dreadful as well. I think traditional Penny Dreadful is like a sort of a standardy type of just 1v1 60 card deck thing. But I mean, there's no reason you can't do that. I just think online with the paper ban list, aka restriction, you get quality decks that are about fun, and there's not a lot of cheap stuff in there.
Yeah. No. So anyways, this was fun. This was a fun 2 weeks of sort of getting into a little bit of a new format and
Cool.
Actually playing against each other as well. We didn't get a chance to like play these decks against each other online, which is what we thought we might do, like, and stream it or something. Mostly because it's Canadian Thanksgiving this weekend, and
oh yeah, we forgot to say Happy Thanksgiving to all our Canadian listeners.
Yeah.
It'll when you listen to this, it'll probably be past.
After Thanksgiving for sure.
But you know what?
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving, eh?
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving, you hosers. Yeah, it was so like I was in Ottawa from like Thursday to like yesterday, so we unfortunately we didn't get much time to do that, but I think that's something that a lot of people have been mentioning to us that they'd like to see, so I'm not against it in the future either. I think it's a great idea.
Not against it.
Like more like interaction between you and I with decks we brew and like play them against each other. That type of thing has been.
I think that's fun.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, we'll see you guys later. This is the end of the show. Of course, Brew and Brawl's coming up at the end of this month. I believe it's the 29th. I'm hosting.
29th of October.
I'm hosting Sunday Night Live that week.
Oh wow!
So that night. So I don't think I'm going to be able to be there for that.
All right, we'll figure something out.
So that's a bummer. But maybe we'll I don't know. Maybe we'll change something up. Who knows?
Who knows?
But otherwise, that's when it is going to be. Sean will be here to play with you. Yeah, I think that's it. So stick around for the Brews News segment, and other than that, we'll see you guys around.
Bye.
Bye. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Brews News. I'm Andy.
And I'm Sean. This week, an interview with Ixalan resident, Ordinary Human Cleric.
With that interview right now, let's go to Andy in the studio. Thank you, Andy. Today here I'm joined by a human cleric, of course, from the plane of Ixalan. Human cleric, thanks for joining us. Did you have an actual full human name?
Dennis.
Dennis, the human cleric. Well, thanks for joining us here. And Dennis, I want to get right into it today. I want to know, what is it like being a human on Ixalan?
I'm glad you asked. Well, as humans, we like to stick together, as do most species, most creature types. We like to kind of like team up and band together and use our human cleric powers together to just kind of be a mighty force and, really represent Ixalan.
Right. Now, dinosaurs.
Okay. Yeah, they are also.
Let's talk about dinosaurs, because it's so exciting that dinosaurs are finally here in Magic the Gathering. What's your relationship with the dinosaurs?
Okay, I think I'm going to assume you're asking because on Earth plane, where you're from, dinosaurs and humans never shared.
Yeah, we didn't have to exist with them.
Okay. Fair question, right? They take up a lot of space. They're big. They make a lot of noise, but we generally keep away because as humans, we have towns and commerce.
Which dinosaur, though, is your most favorite? Mine growing up was always Brontosaurus.
Okay, I didn't really have a favorite dinosaur. I mean, they don't make good pets. We tried, slaughtered a lot of the human population by trying that, but we fought through because humans persevere. That is our strength.
Yes, we certainly do. And the same is true for Earthplane. We make dinosaur movies here, though. And I wanted to ask you,
well, can I
what
ask
Jurassic
you,
Park? Sorry.
I would like to ask you, could we please talk about more human stuff?
Yeah,
and less
absolutely. No,
dinosaur
listen,
stuff?
I feel you. Sorry. Humans make movies here.
Okay, well,
Now, if you were to make a movie in Ixalan, which dinosaur do you think would you make it about? What would be? How would you work dinosaurs into it?
you know, okay, here's what I would do if I were to make a movie on Ixalan. It would be an intimate piece about the psyche of a human.
Dealing with
Maybe-
dinosaurs,
no,
like having
no,
to constantly get attacked by
No,
dinosaurs.
I
and things
call
like
it
that?
My Dinner with Dennis. It's just me and one other actor having dinner. It's just one shot. It's going to be, and it just really digs deep into the human experience, the human cleric experience.
I'll tell you right now, no one's going to make that movie unless you throw a dinosaur in there.
I don't.
That's
Andy,
what we've learned. Jurassic
Andy.
World, #1, moneymaker ever. But anyways, let's move on. Okay, maybe enough about dinosaurs.
Enough
I'm
about
sorry.
dinosaurs,
I'm sorry.
okay? I'm a human.
Yes, we're seeing in this set a return to the sea.
Don't.
And
no,
I love that we're seeing a lot of merfolk in
Nope.
this set. We got
Nope.
blue, green merfolk.
Nope.
What's your experience with the people of the sea, the merfolk?
I know as a human, we shouldn't swim after eating
Because
for
a
a half
merfolk
hour.
will
No,
probably
no,
get you or
nothing to do
whatever.
with it. Nothing. We have lots of water
You steer
that does.
clear of rivers as well?
No,
Is that
we swim in rivers because we have an area too. Humans have a space on Ixalan,
you
okay?
a mutant and you're part merfolk?
No, okay. I think I know why I'm here.
Okay, sorry. Again. You're right. You're a human cleric. We should talk about your people.
Yeah,
right?
I want to talk about my human people.
Right. Right. Okay. So we know there's pirates, and pirates are going around taking everything. They are all humans, right? Everyone there is
Okay.
a solid, just a regular human being.
Okay. Technically, there are orc pirates as well, but there are a lot of human pirates, but I'm a human cleric. I want to talk about cleric stuff.
You want to be both.
I am a human cleric.
You want to.
I am both. I don't want to be both. I am both. I am a human and I am a cleric. And I want all you other human clerics out there to be proud of who you are.
Yo, what about vampires riding horses, though? That's
no
crazy.
No, I'm out. No.
That's crazy,
No,
though,
no,
isn't it?
no,
That's
sorry.
I want a human perspective on vampires riding horses.
No, not going to happen.
We've never made that movie. And hello? Oh, man. That's a burn on me. Well, that was... I want to thank Dennis, the human cleric, for being here today. And Andy and Sean, back to you. Thanks, Andy. What a great interview with a regular human cleric. What a normal guy.
Very relatable.
Absolutely. I know I've been on an island with dinosaurs and pirates before and felt very out of place as well.
Merfolk and the other thing.
Well, that does it for this episode of Brews News this week. Until next week, you got to keep playing cards. Maybe we think of an ending, a real ending one day. Maybe people want to help out.
Maybe. If you want to contact us, I'm at Sean Tabaris.
And I'm at Andy Holbone.
Send us an email at commandersbrew@gmail.com.
You can find out when we go live on Twitch if you follow us at twitch.tv.
And if you care to support us on Patreon, check us out at patreon.com.
And you can find our deck list on tappedout.net.
And if we forgot anything, commandersbrew.com.